It does not say that he was accused of it. It says he stabbed a man to death. The title of this video was going to be Racism, Murder, Pop Punk, MEST. And that's what I'm going to call this video, because I want to gaslight people and I want to get clicks on my video, right?
And they're going to be debating if like they're going to realize that they're going to find a debate on whether the starting line was pop punk or not for 45 minutes.
You know what I'm saying?
Very disappointed.
Probably. So, we talked about how Tony Lavato, the singer of this band, and I guess the primary songwriter, is a cousin of pop star Demi Lovato. Started getting involved in music at just 12 years old, and he played drums for a white power band called Confederate Storm. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know anything about that other than the fact that happened?
No, and that's every time I even asked someone who kind of knew him to ask what, this is years ago, asked like what was up with it, and everyone just
what was up?
Says, like,
good,
I don't know. He just played in the like. So I've never heard any feedback
played in the band
of him being like actually involved in this stuff, but he was in the band. Like I don't know. I don't ever know what to do with that. I have.
Look. In reality, the reality is he was 12. It says right there. Okay, so if he was 12. You do a lot of stupid shit as 12, but it also says, I got to give the guy credit where credit's due. It says that he left the band at age 14 because he started to think, this isn't who I am. I've got friends that are Mexican, friends that are black. I don't dislike them. So how can I be part of this stuff when my true feelings are everything that is not that? And I have to assume that he meant that because, well, I don't know. I feel like
I don't know, and I don't want to like tar him for it either, but it's always just kind of stood out, and like I don't know why.
Well, it goes in line with the other thing I want to bring up about the guy, because certain kinds of people that believe certain things also behave in certain kinds of ways. Like, I don't know, stabbing a guy in a parking lot and then saying he wanted to fight you. Okay, so apparently in 2007, Tony Lavato was jailed on suspicion of murder in Los Angeles after stabbing a man to death. It does not say that he was accused of it. It says he stabbed a man to death. And then it says the stabbing, Lavato was accused of stabbing Wayne Hughes to death in the underground parking lot of an apartment building in Studio City. Lavato claimed he acted in self-defense after Hughes challenged him to a fight. That's absolutely insane. But then it does say prosecutors declined to file charges against Lavato, determining that he acted in self-defense. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office said that Lavato and Hughes had dated the same woman for over a year and that Hughes had sent threatening messages towards Lavato. So what I have a little bit of experience with, unfortunately, is the legal system in America. And what I'll say is my opinion on them not pressing charges is that they just didn't think that they had a case that could be open and shut, and that there's still some questions out there, but there's no way to definitively prove one thing or another. And honestly, that means you're probably, by law, not going to jail. You shouldn't. If you can't prove something was done for, with malicious intent. If it's more likely that you were protecting yourself, no, you shouldn't go to jail for that. I'm not saying you should have gone to jail. I'm just saying, like, who knows? If they didn't press charges, it's not because they thought he was innocent. Is my point. That's my point. That's the better way to say it. Is that they weren't like, well, he was 100% innocent, we're not going to press charges. They were probably like, man, we can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, so we're not going to pursue it because that costs money. And that's how I feel about it. This dude's got some real skeletons in his closet. It's a fucking interesting person, man. I wish I could talk to him. I'd love to talk to that guy. I'd love to just hear his story. I want to hear his perspective from all of this.
Yeah, and this was what you said is pretty much what's publicly known about it. There's not a whole lot to add there, other than if I recall at the time, and I want to say this was, so it was very weird because MEST actually broke up in the midst of that last the album the album in 05 that they came out with, the Kiss Me Kill Me album. They'd been a band for 10 years. They were at that point where they couldn't be in the same room together, all that, all those
Yeah.
hostilities. They were just done at that point. And Tony was kind of like hanging around sort of as a celebrity a bit in that like you could like say you knew who he was, but no one realistically knew. He's a guy that like MEST wasn't even you can call him TRL core, but I don't ever recall them making it like on like a TRL type of they just sort of sounded like the music that was on there. So they were not
Well, I
this
mean,
is not like it's not Travis Barker here. He's not
nobody wanted to be,
yeah, it's not a legit
right?
my point is he's not like a legit celebrity in
Oh no,
that
he's like a
concept.
D-list celebrity.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's still just kind of around. So this happens, and I remember like it was like TMZ, like very early, like TMZ or that type of thing. And there was like the photo, and his face, Tony's face was like messed up. Like
Oh
his
really?
face was like swelling up. He was coming out. He was coming like out of the precinct. I want to say like after being held for like 3
Oh
days
damn.
or something like that. And he was coming out of there and said he would release his statement later or whatever. And it just seemed like I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of chaos was happening. And here's the thing. MEST always seemed a little more not in their lyrics, but just in their personalities. They always felt a little more dangerous than their peers. In like when you like again, so I wouldn't say they were more dangerous, but they
Who were their
more
peers then I would like
so
the definition on
so
that.
so so so
Like
here
Sum 41 and Blink-182 and all them?
yes, they
Then you're probably right.
yeah, so they were more, and then not that they were extreme, but the mesh guys were more partying with the guys that we like. They were more hanging out with like Fat Mike and those kind of guys on those in that kind of era and stuff. And I think that's why they were like collaborating with those guys and stuff like that. So they were very much because I think they were again, like I said, they were kind of fans of like the Fat bands and the Epitaph
Right.
bands. They're like the same age as those guys. They were more into that, like the old footage. I mean, their name, the name of their band was after a beer can. They're always kind of drinking. They just always seemed like a little more wild party boys than the contemporaries in that scene. Because I think later on the pop punkers kind of took on this like wild party boy kind of reputation, like the Journeys era Warped Tour, like the stuff that I was much too old for. But in this time period, the pop punkers are more like silly. They're more like silly and zany. And Tony was always a little more, or the band always felt just a little more, not dangerous in like a gangster kind of way, but they felt a little more wild, a little more reckless than what was normally sort of associated.
I feel like maybe
with
he
that
was
scene.
kind of a magnet for that kind of behavior and activities more so than everybody else, maybe. And I don't know a lot about the band, but I read a little bit, and it just seemed like he was always the issue. I
So
guess
yeah,
maybe not.
like,
I don't mean that in like a. I just say like he was the common denominator in all the things that
well,
I kept seeing.
he used to talk about it himself. Like he was the kid always suspended at school. He was always the
Yeah.
kid, and
And that makes me wonder about this other band that he did when he was a kid. Like, how do you know that's not how he thinks? Like, I mean, who the fuck would play that? You know.
And I don't, and I wanted, and that's why I wanted to say that very sort of like neutral. And it is like, I could also, again, I can also give the benefit of the doubt of a 13-year-old that maybe likes to break windows or something. They're just going to want to be in the band that sounds controversial. Like, and I don't think that's like how someone feels necessarily.
That's why you can't really crucify somebody for something they did at age 12.
It's out there. I think what's different is like music. We're just kind of sensitive about music in a good way, right? If you made music that was a certain kind of like it's kind of what we're talking about, because music matters, and why you make music, and it really does matter. Like I'm being pedantic about it, but it matters, and it's important to people. That's why people talk about that. So there's something more icky about that.
It's the only thing that matters to most people.
Written on your notebook or something like that. So, but again, I don't want to be judged for the things I said and did when I was 12, or even like last week half the time. You know what I mean? So, I can't get it's an odd life, odd career, odd band.
Yeah. I'm not, dude. I don't even like really. I don't really have like a lot of hate for the band because I don't spend time thinking about them. I was sincerely shocked when I didn't like some of their songs. I disliked the ones I heard enough to where I don't feel like going deeper into their catalog. But I was expecting to have like I had this memory of having one or two of their records at some point, and I thought they had more of a skate punk sound at some point. Maybe I'm misremembering it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I meant by we started this. Is I think of them as like pop punk for pop punk's sake, and that's exactly the point. Is like they don't have much of that. And that was, we went on this whole MXPX tangent, but even maybe I'm kind of conceding that one point to you, like at least MXPX, I kind of see like a skate punk sort of root in them, like a skate punk social distortion root in them that was kind of a take, where I think this was explicitly pop punk. Like that's where you and I kind of disagree.
Like,
you think it's something completely. I think it was made to be pop. Like I think the goal is pop punk. It like that is what this is.
I don't doubt that a bit. I just don't consider that stuff pop punk.
As it's
it's a definition thing, you know?
Yeah, but like, so there, okay, but any music, so pop punk, we don't think of it like this because the grown-ups never really liked pop punk till like years later. But
yeah, so like the kids that liked it grew up.
Yeah, basically till I got in charge of all you people.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's when they start charging us $500 to go to festivals and stuff. That is 100% true, as every track. But I'm saying, like, as soon as grunge went away, we thought of it as like a fad and a cultural moment. I think pop punk, because it belonged so much to the kids, like the adolescents, we took a long time to really like take it seriously as a fad. And if you look at bands like MEST, bands like the Ataris, there's bands like that in every generation of music in like musical fads. And the fads doesn't mean that they were trend hoppers. They just were able to get capitalized in. So the moment that they did their thing, it got really popular. My point was, though, there's always bands like this that don't last the test of time into the. So now, even though like they kind of didn't last, they actually changed up their whole sound. But like Blink-182 found a way to still come through and still kind of be one of the biggest bands.
They definitely are still one of the biggest.
Figured it out. Now the Yellow Cards and the Ataris and the MEST in the world all came, or even like Alkaline Trio didn't make it to the very top, but found a way to keep it going. Those three bands I mentioned got very, very big. Never really had the infrastructure to get as big as they got, and the machine just tore those bands. I think all the things we're talking about there with MEST and with this band, I don't know if that had to do with his fame or anything, but like, why did we even know? Like, this band wasn't even that big. They were kind of famous. Like, some of these people, it happened in the 80s with some of these bands were just like bar bands, and all of a sudden, because Motley Crue got big, then the bar band down the street also got really, really big, and they were not ready to handle that, or they did not have the staying power, because maybe at the end of the day, they were just kind of high school buddies hanging out. That, kind of that happened because the Green Days, and that's really not a statement on the authenticity of those bands. Maybe it's more of a statement, even though I like it, I think it is a statement, not on their quality, but on the timelessness. There's a difference between quality and like Operation Ivy released one album, but that album's good forever and can be good forever and is sort of like carried with you musically through the time periods where this, I love this, but it's just 2000 again, or 95, whatever the time period.
This is very dated music. It's very much it's the same way a
movie, like an 80s movie that looks like The Sign of the Future, and it's all like it is kind of what it is, where it's, yes, you can say Green Day. Yeah, Green Day sounds like Green Day sounds like Green Day at this point, because they've been able to, and I respect a band like Green Day that doesn't even have to dip that far into, they just can dip slightly into other genres. These other pop artists, I was reading a book on Taylor Swift of all people, and like she has to chameleon into all these other genres just to stay relevant, which, like there's something to that. Whereas a Green Day can kind of just go a little bit, stay there, and go off of the strength of who they are. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of these approaches, but I think for these guys that weren't quite up to par, that only resonate with you when you're there, they're sort of just there for us to talk about because they don't last the test of time. And it is what it is. There's bands like this in every era, every generation, every style.
All right, I got a question and then I got a comment. Let me make the comment first. That way, if you start going off on this question, that I can just go, oh, okay.
Okay.
So I think I figured out, this is going to make you maybe might make you laugh a little bit.
Yes.
I figured out exactly how to describe my issues with this band. I finally figured it. It took me, I've been thinking about this shit for days, bro.
Okay.
I love ska. Okay.
Okay. I got you.
But I don't consider, hold on, I don't consider Real Big Fish a ska band.
Uh-huh.
MEST is the Real Big Fish of pop punk. That's exactly what they are. They have fucking silly ass lyrics. They write these corny ass songs. They look ridiculous. It's MEST is fucking Real Big Fish. The only difference is they didn't get to be in basketball. So for that reason alone, Real Big Fish wins this fight because Basketball is an awesome movie. Very dated though. Very much a sign of its time. Yeah, dude. MEST is exactly the same way I feel about bands like Real Big Fish. I feel about MEST. That's so I cannot believe I never put that
had
together.
almost this mirror discussion with our ska punk. It was more generic, but yes, and the analogy actually super works because Real Big Fish is not is a moment in time in that
Yeah.
same
Isn't that
kind of
funny?
way.
I was
They
just sitting here and I said zany, and I went in my head. I was like, "These guys got these zany ass songs," and I was like, "Real Big Fish, they are the zany guys." Like
like
that.
basically
Fucking.
Real Big Fish is for yeah, Real Big Fish filled the space that Mess would fill like 5
Yes.
years later, and
Yes.
it's in that same way, in that they're more, kind of from and
In the Mighty
around.
Mighty Boss Tones or MXPX. Let's go. We got there, dude.
Wait, is Mike Dickey? Is that how we're doing this analogy?
I'm just saying, like, it's the same kind of thing. They kind of
I
have
was
some
going to ask
similarities.
you who the boss. Wait, wait, we could keep going on third way ska forever on this.
Well, like that's a very good. It's MEST is Real Big Fish. MXPX is Mighty Mighty Boss Tones because they have similar ideas, they have some similarities in their music even, but it's not the same thing because the Boss Tones and Real Big Fish are not the same. They got some of the same fans, but they're not the same music.
Real
And then
Big
you
Fish
go from there
also
to Operation
borrows
Ivy and Rancid. Like
very heavily, very explicit, like kind of was very hits from other genres. I think Mighty Boss Tones is more original than Real Big Fish is more of a collage. And it's like, man, I'm glad we talked for like an hour and a half for us to figure this out. It was worth it.
Yeah, no, it just clicked in my head. It just clicked in my head. Like I literally used the word zany in my head because you were like talking about something, and I was like, something you said made me go like this, and I thought for just a second, and then I was like, oh, so I wrote it down so I didn't forget because I listened to what you say. So if I'm listening to you, I will forget what I was going to say. So I jotted it down real quick. I just kept looking at it like, don't forget to say that. Don't forget to say that. Okay, my question would be, what were you reading a Taylor Swift book for?
I got a lot of time on my.
You can't find a better book to read than that.
I've read all the books. That's the problem.
Man, second dip, bro. Read it again. Man, look, and to be very clear, I don't really actually have a problem with her. I don't know much about her, so I don't know if there's any like social issues that I would have an issue with. But like her music's not terrible. I just don't like pop music that much.
No, and it's actually I've just been now not doing this as much with you and stuff. I've just getting back into the art of music journalism is what or music media, music coverage is what I'd like to see.
I got called a journalist for the first time a while back, and it has been I've been called that now like 4 or 5 different times from people that I don't know why they said that to me, but my wife looked at me like I was retarded when I said, "Oh, I didn't realize I was a music journalist." She's like, "What is it that you do then?" And I was like, she's like, "Do you travel?" And I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "For work, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, what do you go out there to do?" I was like, "Document musical." Oh, and she's like, "Yeah." And she just went back to what she was doing. Like, I'm the one that didn't understand what it was I was doing, I guess. I just thought I was having a good time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're not really like a reporter, I would say, although you do the reporting.
But I'll go out and I'm going to go out and do I'm covering a fucking giant fest in LA, and then I'm doing the same thing in Las Vegas, and then I'm interviewing these people in person. That's the same kind of work a newspaper journalist would do.
Yeah,
different topic. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, you do. You're more analogous to like a TV journalist, like the same way. Like say, I'll try to think back in the day. Whoever's anchoring the desk at he's commenting on the news and then having the interview with the president.
I covered the Finn McKenty thing. It's like Matt Pinfield or somebody from MTV way back when, except that I have to do it myself because I'm on a channel instead of
because
TV.
And I again, we don't want to get into a whole other thing about things, but
no,
I think
cool. It's just cool I didn't know I was doing that, and that's awesome.
Work. I think it's media work that's not just promotions work. I don't think it's like maybe if it was full blown it's not investigative journalism necessarily, but you don't.
No, I wouldn't call it that. It's just more of the interviewing people. It's not as important as investigative journalism in my opinion. Because I'm not breaking news. I'm just documenting things. I'm interviewing people. I'm going to go take photos at these shows and film the sets. And
I think entertainment journalism, or even you see this a lot in gamer journalism. That's kind of
right. I just thought it was really neat, man.
Yeah, you're not really trading access though. So
because I was it just made me feel good because I put a lot of work into this, and I didn't ever have a title for it. People are like, well, what is it you do? I'm like, I do this. Well, there's a word for that, and I just never really thought that it applied because I feel like I'm humbled by that. That's a word where I felt really grateful to hear. I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty amazing that somebody would think of me like that. Because look, I have all the angry takes that I can have, right? Whatever, man. I'm very humble at the end of the day. Like I am very, very humbled by my situation, by my audience, having friends like you. The fact that you still want to come hang out tells me a lot. Like that's I am very, very appreciative of all this stuff, man. It's amazing, dude. I've been here my whole life trying to get to where I could make a mark on this thing, and because I want it to be as important for somebody else as it is for me, and the only way I'm going to be able to help somebody get there is by ushering them into it, and that's how I'm doing all this. I've got bands now. I'm not going to say names because I'm not that kind of asshole, but I got bands hitting me up now wanting to do the show, and I'm getting so many requests for like album reviews that I had to come up with like a stipulation sheet. Like, I'm like, here, if you meet these requirements, I will review your music. And it's not out of my head being big. If I had the time to do every one of them, I would. That's all it is. I don't have the time. It's pretty weird, man.
You're an official gatekeeper now. Like,
oh yeah, no, for sure, dude. I got like a whole sword and shield and everything, man. It's awesome.
Real. Yeah,
like
I'm so proud of you for forget about
weird,
that journalist stuff. You're an actual, you're a legit gatekeeper, like certified.
Well, bro, like I don't mean to like pat myself on the back, but I got to fly out to LA and hang out with Jesse Michaels. Like that gives me a certain accomplishment that I can consider personally a pretty important thing. So I'm pretty ecstatic by that. I'm just saying, like my point is, like, I feel accomplished to a certain degree at this point. My opinion doesn't mean anymore because of it. I don't have any kind of weight in the game. I just, I do what I do because I like to do it. And some people might say that I'm something that I wouldn't consider myself, but what I consider myself, I think is the real important thing. And I consider myself just part of the community, really. But, I think it's amazing, man. I don't know. I just never really got any credit for shit I was doing when I was younger because I was doing some stuff, but I was also fucking everything up, man. So like now I'm doing some stuff and I'm being responsible. And I think people are like taking note now and going, oh yeah, he's working pretty hard. Whereas back in the day, like, yeah, he could do something if he wanted, but this dumbass is going there and partying too much. So it's just nice to see like some rewards for all the hard work. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. I get to talk to Roger Merritt next week. Like, what the fuck, bro? This shit's rad, dude.
That was when you had.
I've been trying for that for a long time.
Like before you started interviewing people, you were targeting that one. It's like maybe you could, someday, right? That was
right.
That was
yeah, dude. I mean, like, I just emailed Jim Lindbergh the other day, like this afternoon. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make anything other than I get to think that it's cool. Like, I think it's cool. You can think it's whatever, man. I don't give a shit. I think it's fucking rad. I just like to geek out on this shit with me and my homies, dude. Because like a year and 9 months ago, I was like, hey, you want to do a collab with you? And then I was like, hey, I don't like this other shit I'm doing. I'm going to drop a 30,000 subscriber channel. And dude, many people were like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And I was like, well, if I can do it once, I can do it again. Let's see. And then it's just nice that it's happening because I maybe thought that maybe I didn't even believe I could do it. So,
Yeah, I remember you telling me that you would talk about punk rock on your channel, but no one would watch it.
Nobody gave a shit at all, and so I was like, I got to start a whole channel for it, And what's funny is I still have a few people that watch the channel from those videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shout out JJ, man, if you're watching this, bro.
So some of your OG fan club.
Yeah, he's been watching my channel for years, dude. Shout out to that guy, dude. That shit does not go unnoticed. And I mean, like people like TJ Trainwreck, dude. Like I wouldn't even have my label if it wasn't for him, and he's got nothing to do with punk at this point in his life. He's an OG hardcore kid, but like he does hip hop shit. But I wouldn't have my label if it wasn't for him.
That was your artist for a while. That was like your main focus.
Yeah, dude. Like he's dropping some music on Friday. I was like, I'll cover that shit. He's like, oh, I'm like, bro, why would I not, bro? You're my friend. Like, and this is like, and this is why shit like defining what something means is so important to me because I put everything into this. So to somebody else, it may not be as important to somebody else, but to me, this is everything. My family is here. This is like, I'm talking a fucking portion of a step down is this. So it is important to me to have a definition and to have these ideas of what it doesn't mean it's good or bad, but I like to have boundaries. I like to have definitions is probably the right word. People say like, oh, punk can be anything. That's not really true. Like, okay, so Kiss is punk, right? Come on, man. Like, stop it. Punk can't be anything. Like, there are rules to everything, unfortunately.
I'm going to adopt that as a take just to go viral. I'm going to say Kiss is the first punk band. Yeah, I'm just going to go off that for like 2 months.
You know what? I could probably make a fucking argument about it.
Oh, I definitely could. It's disingenuous, but I got the skills. I could do it.
What a band that I don't want to admit that I do like. That guy sucks so bad, but
They're
their
the
music was
ultimate
pretty
example initially of what I said. If like, I wish they sounded like what they look like.
good point.
Like if they could just
Yeah,
sound like whatever it is
valid
they look like.
valid point.
Like if they just sound like Metallica, that would be great. Like that would have been
Right?
perfect.
Ghost is another one.
Exactly. Yes. Ghost is like dumb mom rock, but
Yeah,
just like
and then what's the other one? What's the other one? It's like it's got a weird name. They had these songs that have like they're like jazz infused like radio core stuff, but they look all insane and shit. Oh, and for a while they wouldn't let anybody know who they were either. I think they looked and sounded like a little bit like Ghost. Let's see. I hate music like this, but my friends like this band. Let's see. Sleep Token, that
okay,
fucking
yeah.
garbage ass shit. That music
See, you
sucks.
know what? I think you and I can agree on we hate mainstream rock. Like
Yeah, I hate that shit.
like current mainstream rock, you and I both
Oh,
really
current stuff is even worse.
well, like newer band.
Yeah.
Those bands are kind of old, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah,
I'm not into that
I
music,
can't do
bro.
it. I can't do it with.
If it wasn't on
those
Crazy
ones.
Taxi, I don't want nothing to do with it.
I mean, like, you asked me about reading it, right? I'm reading a Taylor Swift book. I mean, who else's book from modern music am I going to read? My God,
Nobody's, man. Put that shit down and read something better than that. I wish I had time to read some more books. I got too much going on right now. I'm spread very thin at the moment, but it is what it is. So, okay, before we go, dude, what are some of your favorite MEST songs? What is your favorite MEST album? If somebody's going to go listen to them, what do you recommend?
I would say my favorite album is the self-titled album from 2003.
Is it just got the logo real big on the cover?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's got the logo. It's got like the
spray painted looking
like tattoo art, kind of. Yeah, it's got that stuff on it. That album, I don't think there's a terrible song on that album, but that album is unlike the other two, which are mostly old relationship songs on the previous two. That one has a little bit of differentiation in the presentation of them. So I think that one is a little bit better, and it's a little bit shorter. Held my attention a little bit better over the
long
years.
albums kill me, dude.
After that, you're really splitting hair between Wasting Time and Destination Unknown. I like their slower songs. I like the song Chelsea they have. It's kind of like a ballady song that I've always really liked. Yesterday, Opinions, I would say when they get a little more hyped, it's not as good because it's a little more generic. Like their song "Fucked Up Kid" is kind of a cool song to open up with, but
okay.
it's very generic, and there's nothing really, fucked up visions in my head. I'm a fucked up kid is what she said. That's kind of, it feels very generic Molly rock, where you start getting into the other kind of stuff, specifically the stuff I would say point to anything with both vocalists on it. And I think those songs are very, very good.
That's common. That's pretty common.
And then, unlike what my friend here says, if you like a little bit of like bouncy stuff, songs like "What's the Dealio" and "Cadillac" kind of have that.
Do you like those songs?
Yeah, I do. Now, mind you, they were.
Is it nostalgia, or do you just think they're good music?
The bounciness of it. So like Cadillac, because like that was, but those songs were kind of corny even back in the day. But you sort of, it is a nostalgic. But I
like, as an example, I wouldn't ever in my lifetime go sit down and listen to "Pretty Fly for a White Guy," and I feel like that's what this stuff is. But like, as a general rule of thumb, I think Offspring makes pretty good music, but they have these songs where I just can't listen to it.
So,
and that's what.
So I think there's less, and this doesn't speak well of MEST. Maybe I think there's less genuine attempts at comedy than what the Offspring were going to for.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Find them. So that is a hallmark of their music. Whereas, say some of these bands that we're talking about that were kind of similar, like Yellow Card and the Ataris and stuff like that, that stuff probably is a little bit more pure on the pop punk side. It sounds more like a very, very light punk rock. This has a lot of that bouncy stuff, a lot of and I think it is very analogous, like you said, to the Florida band, to like a Newfound Glory, in that it's a little bit thicker sometimes than some of the music, so it bounces. And again, I think a lot of the stuff that had major label production on in the early 2000s, they just knew how to get the low end. I think.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, bro. I apologize.
A few moments later.
Damn, I feel like a dick, man. Shout out to my wife, man. I I have headphones that wrap around my neck, like they hang, because I lose the earbud things all the time. I left my headphones at the shop, and they won't let me back in to get them because it's in a mini mall. I can't go into the mall
Yeah, so
past
it's all
hours.
locked up. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's like, "Hey, I'm at Walmart. I'll grab these. They're like $20." And so I get these little skull candy ones. They're pretty decent, bro. I've had them for 48 hours. I cannot find them to save my life, and I don't know what I
Oh.
did. And so she's like, "I'll drive out," and so she's driving like 30 minutes. So give me some fucking headphones, but I can't sleep without them. I have this. I have tinnitus, and I
Mm,
also have like my brain won't slow down, so I have to listen to a book, which gets me kind of like engaged, but also kind of gets me on a rhythm, and I
mm.
just fall asleep. So shout out to my wife, man, for being a sweetheart and going and doing that for me. Yeah, dude, MEST is an interesting subject. I'm wondering what the feedback will be on this
I
video.
I assume there's like I found myself in the wilderness with them generally as a fan of them. I don't find a lot of other fans of them, and you know, and they still are able to tour and stuff like that. So it's not like their fans don't exist, obviously.
Right.
But I don't find a lot of them
Well, full
in the wild.
disclosure, I've sold a fair amount of their CDs at my store. Like, I can tell you, I've probably sold 6 copies in the last 2 years, which I mean, that's a lot for CDs of a band like this.
I gotta stop shopping over there, man.
Yeah, dude. If you came in my store, you'd buy a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah.